Make my way through so many people and absolutely delighted. I haven't done like a live event in so long that it's like so good to see so many of you here. So if you don't know me, I'm Siobhan Berry from Mummy Cooks, and yeah, last September we celebrated 10 years in business. So I started out Mummy Cooks in my kitchen, teaching mums how to wean their babies. So my whole philosophy is that it is all about, you know, getting to not having a fussy eater. So it's all about kind of getting onto family foods as quick as possible. So what I want to do today is, and I just always, whenever I do a weaning class, I always think it's really the anxiety that stops us from kind of moving forward. So what I want to kind of do is maybe put your concerns at ease, and that we can kind of have a really good weaning experience, and then you'll have a fabulous eater and no fussy eaters in the house. So can I have a show of hands of anyone who hasn't started weaning, perhaps? Hasn't started weaning their baby? Hasn't, okay. So we have a few, okay. So yeah, so maybe we'll start there, right? So I guess it can get really confusing when you start reading up about when to start, how to start. So the guidelines from the HSE, or the World Health Organization, they start kind of muddling around, sort of starting around 6 months. But actually, realistically, your baby is ready a little bit before that. Not for finger food. So if you are to follow a pure baby-led weaning, you wouldn't start until about 6 months. It is okay to start around 5.5 months, and I would actually be in favour of that. And the reason for that is that at 6 months, you need to get going, and we need to be on 3 meals a day. We need to start introducing finger food. We need to introduce control, all of that. And it's just a little easier if you've started before. If you aren't happy to do that and you don't feel your baby is ready, 100% that's fine. There's no hard and fast rule here. It's all, I really think it's all about how you feel if your baby is ready, and are you ready as well? So the reason a baby may be not ready actually is if you give a baby food and it just keeps coming out, their tongue thrust is actually too far forward. And maybe Jenny, actually, for the speech therapist, will talk a bit more about that. So what happens is around the kind of 4 or 5 months, it starts moving back to the centre of the tongue. It's still there. We'll still get gagging. We'll still get food coming forward. But if all of the food just kept coming forward, perhaps the baby isn't physically ready. It is quite rare. Be careful actually as well with spoons, that they're not too wide, too hard, and that you're not putting them in too far, because that will hit off the gag reflex and push it forward. I actually think start with your finger, clean finger, a little bit of puree, and just bring it up to their lips, and just a little bit here. Try not to be sticking anything too far in. So if we were to start at 5 months, let's say, and actually that's how my starter weaning set is set up. So it's got like a portion guide in it. So what you're going to do is you're going to give a little taste at a time of day where your baby is most content. So let's say baby, and look, when I start talking about schedules, you'll be like rolling your eyes and going, oh, they're up all night drinking milk and all of that. So let's just say they're fantastic and they get up at 7 for their first feed. You'll get there at some point, but let's say they get up at 7 and they have their milk first. Always milk first. Milk is most important in the first year. We're really only just trying to get them to explore food, enjoy food, get to that, family food at 1 year's age. An hour later, we would we would have breakfast. But let's say we're starting out. Most content probably after their mid-morning nap. An hour later after that, so probably the middle of the day, or it's the breakfast. I probably wouldn't start in the evening. They're starting to get tired and restless. So so you're just offering a small bit of food on their finger and into their mouth. So I would usually go for vegetables. So you can have again, there's the whole idea of only introducing bitter vegetables. I don't know about that. I think we don't eat just bitter vegetables, we eat all different vegetables. So it's more about variety actually. So just, first day maybe a little bit of carrot puree, sweet potato puree, cauliflower puree, all of those like in the first week. So first 3 days you're just introducing one meal a day, and then you can increase to 2 meals a day. And even on the fourth, fifth day you can start mixing purees. That's fine. There's another kind of misdemeanor out there which says like that you have to try one food for 3 days. That's not relevant. It used to be, because they were so worried about allergies, but nobody's really, well, some people might be allergic to carrots, but I don't know anybody who's allergic to carrots, so we just kind of ignore all that. So yeah, you're moving on with a different variety in the first 2 weeks, and then you'll probably get to 6 weeks. So now, 6 months. So we're now at 6 months. 6 months of age, your baby is at the stage where they're most accepting of new food. So when you have, I don't know if anyone has a toddler, they can get like very picky. They can, we've all been there. So they just kind of, they go through this phase of like stuff that they would have eaten before, they won't eat. All of that kind of happens around the toddler stage. I'll talk about that maybe later. But at 6 months, they've none of that. And this is the key time to literally everything you can, like you're gonna offer to them. The only foods you can't have are like salty foods and sugary foods, and honey. You can't have honey either. But everything else you can have. So when I wrote my book, actually, I was like, because you see, I would have had, I have a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old, and I would have followed, I won't say who, but she would have done an awful lot of really weird purees and dinners that I would have not done for myself. So I ended up like cooking all these silly meals that weren't adding variety, and I wasn't eating them. So I set about writing my book actually about how do you get like family meals and then offer to baby from 6 months. And really what you do is you don't add a packet or a jar, you cook from scratch. It is easier than you think actually, because what you can do, so I would batch cook maybe my tomato sauce, I would batch cook bolognese, I would, all the kind of easy stuff that I can maybe freeze. And that makes it easier to have a dinner on the table every day. And I want you to start thinking about that now at 6 months, because you won't always have time to because it is 3 meals a day. Breakfast, okay, we can maybe use cereal and just do a quick egg or something, but you will need 2 dinners. So batch cooking is key. And just think about like, is there stuff that you could cook for the family and then adapt it for baby? How do we adapt? I have a coconut chicken curry that I always demo when I was doing my classes. And I'll just show you, I'll just do a picture of it here. But it is great from 6 months. You're introducing texture because it's got meat in it, it's got chicken in it. It's got peas. Peas, because of the shell, have a little bit of texture. It's got the vegetables in it. There it is there. So that's something you can offer from 6 months, which is like not what you would think you could offer. And how would we offer that? So obviously, if we're going from a thin puree to blending a coconut chicken curry, it's not going to be suitable. So what I would do is I would put 1 part chicken and 3 or 4 part vegetables with a little bit of the hot water or stock then to tin it down. That's going to have a little bit of texture, but at least you can, you're moving on with some texture. And then as they get used to all this, then you're blending it as it is. You can also offer this as finger food. So I would make sure that the vegetables are nice and soft, so you're putting the vegetables in your thumb and finger and you're squeezing it. And if it squeezes down nicely, then it means that their gums actually would be able to manage the same thing. With the chicken, that's not going to happen. So what you do is you get the fork and you shred it. And then they can, okay, that's going to have fairly, a lot of texture for them, but it's not a choking hazard. And that's finger food. With finger food, I really think it's important to start at 6 months. I know, like, you're like, oh my gosh, I have too much to be doing with all the other stuff. But it's more about sort of, if you started it at that time where they're most accepting of new foods and new experiences, it'll be easier to move along. I would advise doing like a first aid course on choking, just to get yourself in the mindset that I know what to do. It won't happen as long as if you look at that food and you make sure that it's nice and soft, it won't cause choking. So something like that is great, and then you have it for yourself, and you're looking after yourself, and you're looking after the husband or the partner. And we actually still make that meal. It's so simple. So I think I always, as I said, like, it's all about getting to 1 year of age and having a happy eater. And I thought about this morning. I was thinking, what are the key messages here? So I think it's focusing less on, I know I wrote the book, and I'm telling you what, it was focusing less on sort of following too much of that, or listening too much to someone who thinks they're an expert in that. But it's more about letting baby lead the way. And sometimes you get caught in the trap of going, oh, somebody said baby-led weaning is the best thing to do, and it's the only way my child will be a good eater. And actually, so baby-led weaning is where the baby is only eating finger food. And it's fantastic for control. So the baby has full control to eat the food. They have a fabulous experience, and it's brilliant. But it's not for everyone. And I had 2 girls, and the first she wouldn't eat the finger food. Like, no matter what I did, it was hands up, feed me. She was a little harder to get her to feed herself from 1+, but she got there, and she can eat herself now at 15, so it all works out. So don't push a certain way on them, because I really think they're very different. And then fast forward, then my other child, my 12-year-old, she would not let me feed her. She just wouldn't. Everything was like, I'll do it myself. So I just think that at 6 months, we just let baby lead the way. And how we do that is, so if you can get like some sort of suction bowl on the table, and just so that it doesn't get flowing anywhere, and then something like that where it catches the food, and then you're just putting a little bit of the food in there. And then they are just putting their hands in. Probably, if you're 6 months, not really able, that hand-eye coordination isn't really there. So they're probably scattering it everywhere, probably putting it in their hair. But they're having fun, and they're exploring, and they can see that the food is green. If you think about a fussy eater, they think the food is only white, like chips, nuggets, white bread. It's really scary for them actually to see colourful food. So we want our babies to know that food is colourful. And I often get like people that, oh, they eat all of the creche food, and then you go, what colour is that creche? And it's the brown shepherd's pie. It's not actually the vegetables that are displayed in front of you. So they're putting their hands in, touching it, eating, but actually you have another bowl and you're just feeding them. And they don't know you're doing that. And they feel in control. Yeah. So do that, or just finger food. And then it's putting finger food all on the table. Finger food has to go into their hands, so you're putting finger food in their hand. They the way like baby would clasp it straight away, and then they bring it to their mouth. Never push finger food up to the baby. They have to have full control. And actually, I'll just talk a little bit about that. So again, with the spoon. So when you're feeding a baby, again, like soft and narrow spoons are better than thicker, wider spoons that might be too wide for them and might hit up that gag reflex. If you're starting off, I would only put a tiny little bit of food on the tip of it. If it's around 6 months, about half, but never full, like never a big massive lump of food. Never be thinking, oh, I need to get out of the house now, just get this into them quickly. And so, yeah, because that can cause gagging and really not a nice experience. So half of the spoon with food, and then you bring it up to their mouth, and you touch their lip, and then they open it. Don't be prizing it open, cleaning around the mouth. So they open it, and then you put the spoon a little bit in, and what happens is the food goes between their gums and their lips, and then they use their tongue then to bring it back to their molar. I see what happens is that people don't realise that, and then they shove the spoon in, hits their gag reflex, and then they're like spitting it all out. And then the mum is like, they won't eat off the spoon, and their gag is really strong and all this. And I'm like, no, it's actually the way you're feeding them. It's that you have to be careful of where you put the spoon. Again, back to the little finger, if it's, when you're starting out, so that you avoid that. Be careful of your spoons, make sure they're nice and thin and soft. If the spoon is too hard or it's too wide, again, it's just going to affect here. So that's how you safely offer food. So if you think about finger food, so the finger food is, and again, the thumb and the finger test so that it squishes down and it's able, your baby will be able to chew it. So they're bringing it to their mouth, and then they kind of break out the top piece of it here, the exact same position as I just told you there, and then they use their tongue to bring it over to their molar. They don't need teeth. They don't need teeth at all, actually, because their teeth are behind the gums, and then the same motion as in chewing is done. What they can't do is they can't break off food. So we use teeth if we're eating steak, we use the teeth to break the steak, and then we crunch down. But they're not going to be offering them steak, hopefully. So they don't need to break it off. And that's why what we offer is nice and soft. So yeah, there was that. So the control is obviously, having them, allowing them to touch the food, see the food. The variety piece is really important as well. I actually think the variety piece for me, even as my children are older, is still as important. If we offer the same food over and over again, your baby or your child will food jag. And food jag is where they will not accept that food ever again, because it's like, you've probably done it yourself, where you've eaten too many of something, you don't ever want to eat that again. And it's really important, because if you sort of go down and we do it as parents, we're like, oh, I'll give him what he likes because I don't want to have the battle, or I don't want to have to do whatever. So we give them what they want, and then you end up sort of offering the same food again and again. You're like, I've had parents where they're like, but they love the yogurt, so I'll just offer the yogurt, and then that's not good. That's an alternative. So it's really important to have variety. And I would suggest that, like, let's say the breakfast, if you're saying, like, I want to make porridge every morning, or I want to make porridge one morning and then muesli and then egg, that's brilliant. But if it was just the porridge every morning, I would suggest that you change the fruit every day. So you could have, different fruits each day, and you could have different textures each day. So you could shred the apple one day, you could mash a banana another day, and that's changing it up. And that's enough probably for breakfast. We're cool with like not having huge variety there, but for dinners for sure I would stress on variety. A way of offering variety is actually, so there's in my book I have a Mediterranean cod. So a lot of people would say I don't really eat fish, but it's important again to make sure the fish is added, and it's added weekly so that your baby gets used to it. You can bake the cod with the tomato sauce and freeze that. And then every time you take it out, then you can offer a different carbohydrate. So you could offer couscous one week, mashed potato another week, pasta another week. That's variety. So you don't have to, it doesn't have to be, it's about the texture actually. So when you switch a texture, you've changed variety. Like someone would say to me like, oh, I'm always given sweet corn. But if you offered sweet corn pancakes, that's very different than offering a plate with sweet corn on it. It's very different. It's the texture. So variety is really important, and therefore batch cooking is key. So batch cooking it, putting it into your pots, storing them in the freezer, and then having them to hand then for your weekly meals. I would suggest, like I do a Weaning Wednesday. I actually do it right now usually, but I'm going to do it at 2 today on Instagram. And a lot of people would say, would ask me about, I've lost my thread of freezing food, is it? Yeah. Batch cooking. I've forgotten what I said. Anyway, I'll talk about actually, yes, I know what it is. People ask me about what will I offer my baby for tea. And I think that's a real Irish thing, isn't it? Yeah. We used to get a tea. So I would avoid teas or lunches actually, or even just the word, and I would offer 2 dinners. And the reason I'm saying that is because you do need little portions of food, and you need to batch cook them. What would you offer for tea? I kind of, it's confusing, like, so you end up with beans and toast or something like that. So we're not going to be offering that. So 2 dinners is fantastic. You can have like 1 dinner at lunchtime with the protein, and then the other dinner without. So you can just have pasta with a tomato sauce or pasta with any sauce. And that's much easier for you to manage. So you're not constantly thinking about what will I offer. As long as you can, and I have to say, like, and again I have older children, I actually offer them 2 dinners. They go to school with of, like, they've gone to school today with the shepherd's pie, because it's really hard to get vegetables in at lunchtime, and I think it's a lot